Hello everybody, welcome back. Today is January 17th and we're doing business and social stories for the middle of the week. Hump day.
And let's get hyped for some mergers.
Ugh.
HP Enterprise to acquire Juniper Networks for $14 billion. This is a move. This is probably a good move for both companies. But I like that HPE is referred to as HPE now, not HP Enterprise, because the company that's making the printers, which is not exactly the same, not really, has ruined the name Hewlett-Packard to the extent that they want to distance themselves from one another. It's amazing.
Well, they are not done. They are still ruining.
HP has been sued again for blocking third-party ink from printers accused of a monopoly. Suit seeks an injunction blocking HP. It's like, oh, this
Non-HP chip detected.
Doesn't work.
It's the same thing that they did. They're just getting sued again because it's so amazingly bad what they did.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't print that.
And AI is the new hotness now. Quantum computing kind of on the back burner, but it's still out there, and some companies are still desperately trying to make it real.
Quantum computing startup says that it will beat IBM to error correction. As somebody that has been in the bowels of IBM's operation in both Yonkers and just all throughout New York, I disagree. IBM really just doesn't like to talk about things. They keep things really close to the chest until it's basically done.
There's a new method of error correction. It's going to use lasers and atomic particles, which apparently, if you smash them with the lasers, you can keep them from going crazy, keep them from causing errors. But pretty energy intensive, and scaling it has problems. But they say they're going to figure it out in 2 years. I don't want to say I'll never use this because you don't know.
I mean, it's probably great if you've had an accident of some sort.
If I lose my hands or, lose the ability to manipulate the mouse, I'd probably go for this. It's an amazing thing to have, but it's also disgusting.
A mouse for your mouth. A new device allows users to scroll with their tongues.
What if you're really, really good at first-person shooters, but only if you use the mouse?
Would your tongue get swole?
Yeah, be really, really good at it.
I would give this a try. Like, this would be totally. I would be fine.
It would be nice on my wrists sometimes to have a break.
So it's basically like a retainer that you would get from a dental appliance. You pop it in there, and then you have different spaces that you can push to click, and then you roll your tongue along it to do the scrolling. They say that you could drink coffee and water and stuff with it, maybe not sugar drinks, and definitely you don't want to have a meal while it's in there.
Yeah.
So you will have to stop computing while you eat,
Oh.
which does kind of suck. Those are things it's fun to do those things at the same time. Although very bad for you because you don't focus on your food and you eat quickly, and you really should just stop and eat.
See, my problem is I eat too slow. Like, I get focused on whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm watching, and then I don't eat, and then I'm like, oh, my food's cold.
Most people have the opposite problem for sure. AI companions. Remember the one that you wear and it did the projector? Like, we didn't hear anything else about that. You think they're still doing good?
No, they're probably freaking out.
Well, here's another hot one. Maybe they'll lose too. I don't know.
The Verge headline is Rabbit sells out of 2 batches of 10,000 R1 Pocket AI companions over 2 days. That's a $200 thing that's AI in your pocket. It's some sort of hardware AI acceleration. You should watch the video because it's got a lot of hype, and none of the ads and places you've seen this explain what it does. But it's an LLM in your pocket.
No, it's an LAM.
Well, okay.
A large action model.
And so it can actually do stuff. And you don't just talk to it. It's actually hooked up with things.
Now, it can't do stuff like fight crime. What it's going to do is it's going to interact with the apps that you install on it, and it's going to learn your patterns in the apps. And then it's going to take natural language, as best I understand it, and translate that into let me go do things in the apps for you.
Everybody wants their own personal Jarvis, and there will be a lot of money to be made there. Like, you can earn an Amazon commission on the sale that you generate through something like this. And so that will pay for things to a point. But I don't think that the unwashed masses are ready for the non-utility of large language models. But we're going to get there in like 3 to 5 years. Like, once people generally learn how to use them effectively, it's going to be transformational.
And it's that time of year where we get a bunch of new hardware announcements. I've kind of cherry-picked just the weirdest and the most interesting. This one in particular.
Yeah, so this would be great for traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely going to get you some looks in the airport.
Asus's new laptop has 2 screens and a removable keyboard. Basically, it works like a normal laptop, except that the keyboard can pop off, revealing a screen under the keyboard. And then you can also, just keep unfolding. So, yeah, it's a wireless.
That would fit on a tray table in a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the people behind you are going to see your top screen.
Yeah. Watch a movie up there, work on the screen below it.
And one of the big hotness at CES appears to be transparent TVs. Everybody's doing it now.
Samsung debuts the world's first transparent micro-LED screen at CES 2024.
I love this as like something that could be cool for an art application, but it's probably so wildly expensive it will never be used for that. It will just be used for advertising.
In fact, they did not
movies.
Price it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. Now, this is micro LED transparent TV. They say this has the inherent advantage of the brightness, which obviously brightness is going to be an issue when you're looking through the TV. But that was not the only transparent technology.
LG brought the world's first wireless transparent OLED TV to CES 2024. And this is not the first CES that we've seen transparent TVs with different technologies, but yeah.
I don't understand like the way that they've demoed it in this particular one of like just putting a wall behind it. I'm like, that's not really taking advantage of the fact it's transparent because all I see is the wall behind it.
Yeah, but you don't want anything behind it that's going to mix in with the...
But you might, like you could do like a cool multimedia. They should have been more creative instead of just...
Maybe you could have shows where the actors are in front of a green screen that just transparents the background. Then you could put in your own background.
I want the Back to the Future TV, which is a TV that's so good it looks like it's a window, and it is just on all the time, being a window approximate to the same time of day. So you look at it and it's like, oh, it's a beautiful mountain vista, even though I'm in, the 86th floor of some high rise in New York.
You'll definitely get one of those in your pod.
Yeah.
Also, eventually it'll be like a HUD, right? Where you can have it IRL.
But you probably won't be getting these in your pod because there'll be too much heat waste. The pods are small and it's really going to fill up the area quickly.
GeForce RTX 40 Super Series, new heroes debut in the gaming and creating universe with AI as their superpower. So basically 4080 Super, 4070 Super. That's weird. Didn't NVIDIA also just recently do the 4090D for China? Those couldn't possibly be the same or similar GPU, could they? Super.
And it's finally here. Mark your calendars and also start canceling all your subscriptions and stop smoking and don't eat any fast food because you're going to need to save up quite a few pennies in order to get yourself one of these.
Apple Vision Pro will launch in February. That's the headset that's made out of glass and heavy.
I'm excited not because I'm going to get one because they're wildly expensive, but I want to see what real people think of them outside of like demos that Apple pays for.
It's either going to be like when Steve Jobs had the Mac on stage, like the original Mac, and then it just set off a wave of crazy, or it's going to fizzle out like the Newton.
I kind of, like initially I think it might fizzle out, but I don't know. You never know.
Well, one technology that's not fizzling, but maybe stagnating is the electric vehicle because people are finding that they have negatives that they weren't expecting.
Mainly that they're just wildly expensive.
That's also true. I don't think this is the right direction to go in, to turn them into cyberpunk cars. Like, who's the audience for this?
Honda announces a new line of electric cars, the Honda Zero series. They've got lots and lots of pictures with a wildly optimistic self-driving future.
This one in particular...
Oh. Again, I don't have any strong feelings about vehicles or how they're designed as long as they get me from point A to point B, but that is pretty ugly.
Also, that brake light.
Yeah.
That's... wow. The interior looks kind of cool, though. I guess.
Except most of the time you're going to be driving through, boring city streets or, you're not going to be able to enjoy the giant moonroof.
There's going to be a lot of bird poop that you're going to be looking at.
Also, what happens with that full glass roof if, there's a wreck and your car spins?
You're going to go flying out of it. Well, that's good, though, because when the battery catches fire, you'll be thrown.
You'll be out. You'll be thrown clear.
It's going to be strange. One possible strange EV future for us could be that, rail, and especially high-speed rail, comes back, but not as individual cars. It's just I want to go on vacation to, San Francisco when it's a little less homeless. And you get in your self-driving car and it's like, we're going on vacation to San Francisco, let's go there. And it does the self-driving thing and it's kind of sketchy, but really it's just checking itself into a rail to get you from here to there. And then once it's on the rail, it doesn't have to think about anything anymore.
Problem. I mean, that sounds beautiful. The problem
Yeah, I
with
love
that
that
is, in order for me to get on that super EV train, I'm gonna have to let Homeland Security biopsy my liver and put it
I
on
like
file.
my liver.
Yeah,
Even when you're in your own private pod on the
Yeah.
rail of high-speed pods that are also getting power from the rails.
Have you gone down the train part of YouTube yet? Like just watching people do like train tours and stuff.
yeah, but I always do foreign ones. Like Japan. has
Ours
some
are not
amazing-
good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, these are kind of crappy, but the ones in other locations are great.
I've been meaning to bring in. I've got some train memorabilia I need to bring in and just let the audience identify. But it's a huge signal light that is super antique and super special because it was in a hidden place in my house.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's just a giant train signal and it weighs a lot.
did someone steal it? How did it get in your house?
It was from the Underground Railroad.
There was a picture of the old number 3 with it, so I don't even.
Post
I
it
don't
on
have
Twitter
any
later.
context. It's just like, what is this?
Well, we knew this was coming, but now the satellites are up there. It appears that it is working. It's not available to the plebs yet, but the proof of concept has been done.
SpaceX deploys direct-to-smartphone satellites in a first launch of 2024, and they did do text messaging. They did a successful text message test.
Still T-Mobile, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
There they are. Look at those beauties. They're up there, looking at us.
And soon you'll never be able to escape, no matter where you are.
If you are a Verizon customer, surprise, surprise, Verizon did some dumb stuff, and they did some illegal stuff, and maybe you can get a couple of bucks.
The CNN business headline is how to claim your slice of a $100 million Verizon settlement. So basically, like your location data and personal data, they got caught selling that without your consent or not making the consent clear, as every company does.
They got instructions here on how to go after that. You're probably not going to get very much, but
It's wild that you have to like jump through hoops to get it when they
Yeah.
should probably just give it to you as part of the punishment.
But how do they know who to give it to? I mean, I guess they have billing.
Yeah, that they should know whose data they sold. We just sell so much of it; it's hard to know.
It's the ISP pricing model. It's like, we can't give you an individualized price. You just have to ask our billing computer. And then the billing computer's like, you owe this much. And sorry.
Well, if you are someone who is hitting the economic crisis and saying to yourself, you know what, you know how I can save some money? I can conspire with my neighbor. We can split that ISP bill, and I'll just use the wireless. Here's some good news for you.
Faster than ever, Wi-Fi 7 standard arrives. It is so fast. 5.8 gigabit? Yeah.
Probably not. It also does suffer from shorter distances because of the wavelength. However, eventually, more wavelength will be opened up as the FCC decommissions some of the old stuff, which should help.
Our philosophy on that, our recommendations for that is always more weaker access points is better than fewer stronger access points. And that will continue to be true. Line of sight works really well with Wi-Fi 7. So if like in your main areas, like family room kind of thing, mount an access point on the ceiling, you're going to have a great time.
Now, if you are someone who has no limitations on your behavior and you can literally do everything, can you resist the siren call of pharmacology? That is the big question here, which really will have major implications on a lot of businesses.
The headline is Elon Musk's alleged drug use puts 13,000 jobs at risk, this report suggests. But also, this story reads like something from the Marvel Cinematic Universe about Tony Stark. And it's just like,
So apparently he stumbled into a board meeting. Was it at SpaceX?
yeah, and he was slurring his speech and he was obviously on something.
I mean, think about when he was tweeting how many years ago, where it was clearly he was on drugs. I mean,
They mentioned that, yeah. Now, SpaceX, apparently because of the defense contracts, has to test. They say he has passed all of his tests. And now I saw another headline today that NASA is backing him up here and saying they've tested him.
Do you think that was randomly tested though, like it would be for an employee? Because I would bet not.
I don't know. I mean, he does have a lot of power. Also, with that much money and power, are there systems where you could cover it up? Here's the other thing about drug testing, right? Let's say that you get arrested and you go on probation and you have to drug test. Someone goes in the bathroom with you and looks at your genitalia and makes sure that the stream of water, because there's so many ways people have worked on to try to get away from this. Do you think anybody was staring at Elon Musk's junk while he was peeing in that cup?
Not without his consent, we'll say that.
How do you think he met Grimes?
As far as I know, I think she's the only one he's actually done the deed with, because I think he does test tube babies otherwise. All his kids are synthetic.
Well, just because he's not getting them pregnant, I'm sure he's
Providing the material.
well, it's a different material. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that he's being held to the same standard as the rest of the employees.
No, absolutely not.
But is it that big a deal?
Yeah, it also reads like a Marvel Cinematic Universe story.
I mean, it's definitely a hit piece, but I mean, you can't go on and on about how
he's not at the control panel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's not going to blow something up because he's high. He's just at the top showering them with money, and, he's on Twitter all day. So I don't know that it matters.
Showering them with money. What an amazing lead-in.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think, this sounds like a really good thing that he's doing, but it might have been caused by some other events.
Tesla tells staff that all U.S. production workers are getting a pay raise, according to Bloomberg. This definitely does not have anything to do with unionizing and the United Auto Workers Association or any of that.
Yeah, I think this is basically saying, like, hey, be my peasant and you will be showered with gifts, but go to the unions and you will not. Also, would you like to try some ketamine?
it doesn't show up on drug tests. Actually, I don't know if it does.
I'm pretty sure it does. It's a tranquilizer. And if you have rented an electric vehicle recently, apparently you're in the minority because most people don't want them.
Hertz is selling 20,000 electric vehicles to buy gasoline cars instead. And this article reads, like, the CNN Business, whoever was interviewing this guy from Hertz, was trying really hard to get super negative Tesla quotes. But I am sure that whatever sales deal that Tesla offered Hertz for these Teslas had a non-disparagement clause in it. So the Hertz guy really tiptoed around everything. He just said, oh, yeah, the maintenance costs are a little higher than we expected. The lower costs up front, lower costs to operate. But like when they're in an accident, it costs more. And we wait much longer than we do on their gas counterparts. And we have to have specific people work on them. And those have been downsides for us. And so in the nicest possible way, Hertz is saying,
I don't know if I've ever had the option to rent an electric car. I haven't rented a car in a long time, though.
And then maybe you won't.
They're still going to have electric vehicles because people are interested in electric vehicles, but they're hoping that the Hertz guy definitely, like 3 or 4 different ways, said, well, we hope the future changes with the proliferation of electric vehicles because we really want just anybody to be able to work on Teslas. But it's hard when the onboard computer actively fights you.
Now let's begin the block of sads.
Citigroup cut 20,000 roles in Fraser's bid to boost returns. Google cuts hundreds of jobs in its engineering and other divisions. I know 2 people that were laid off, and I'm very surprised that they were laid off.
I had to sneak one non-layoff story in here because it was also Google related, but it's also related to this same thing.
Google removes quote-unquote underutilized assistant features to focus on quality and reliability. Now, Google got rid of some engineering roles, but they also got rid of a ton of people in the voice assistant, which I think, ironically, is caused by AI. Like, the direction they were going with voice assistant was obviously wrong versus the large language model, and so rather than try to pivot those people to new roles, they're just gone.
Yeah, they pivoted them right out in the street.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going.
Amazon's Twitch to cut 500 employees, about 35 staff. And the guy, this Twitch CEO, did an interview where he seemed to be saying that they still don't expect to be profitable even after these cuts, which is just shocking.
35%.
There was also an announcement from CES that Twitch is now going to let you do your multi-stream encoding locally, which I think will be amazing for all but the top streamers. So like now, pleb tier streamers like us, we can stream high quality, mid quality, and low quality in one, and if our connection's good enough, in one go. And then people that want to watch our content that don't have the best connection will have a better experience than they do now.
I don't want those losers in my Twitch chat.
Well, they're not there now.
And you might think that was the end of it. No, you're wrong. There's more.
Exclusive Unity software to cut 25% of staff in a quote unquote company reset continuation. Unity's also doing some weird things. They banned VLC because it contains lesser GPL code, but Unity itself contains lesser GPL code. So I got to look into that. That might be a story for next week.
Unity did a really dumb thing in 2023. They deserve what they get here.
They're doing some really dumb things with this if this VLC thing is true too.
And another nail in the coffin of the promise that AI is not going to take away our jobs.
As Duolingo taps AI for translation, human contractors are losing their jobs because one human contractor can do the job of 10 now with AI assisting.
10% of Duolingo will be leaving and replaced by robots.
Involuntary leaving.
Kind of a bummer for creative translation. Because you're not going to get a lot of the nuance, probably.
And if you're one of those people and you want to stay in contact with the people at Duolingo that you've forged friendships with, maybe you can jump on a Discord. But
Discord is laying off 17% of employees. One real easy, low-hanging source of revenue that Discord could have had is they could phone up Microsoft and be like, listen, we heard you got Teams. Teams is straight garbage. We'll let you copy our homework. Just copy it into Teams. We can have two products for the same code base. We'll both save money. It'll be great.
well, all those people unemployed sitting at home, they're going to have plenty of time to go through their streaming video collection, right? Catch up on all those old shows they haven't seen.
Amazon cuts hundreds of jobs in Prime Video and MGM Studios. Read the memo to employees. The CNBC headline should have been, this memo from Amazon is appalling. It takes 3 paragraphs just to get to the, by the way, you're getting laid off.
27,000. That's a lot, considering Amazon had already cut and cut and cut and cut. But Amazon is trying to do one thing. I don't trust it at all. Do your own thing here. But if you are insisting on getting into the Matter smart home,
Amazon is trying to fix content casting with an open standard called Matter, because Apple TV and Google TV and other things are a hot mess, full of just garbage. You got a house with a bunch of mobile devices and a bunch of TVs that you can cast to. It's terrible user experience.
now here's a layoff
Level
story
1 predicts like 5 different times.
the layoff story I think we're going to see in the coming weeks because, and this might not just be this company, this might have a knock-on effect.
Broadcom ditches VMware cloud service providers, and this talks about all of that. Basically, if you were a cloud service provider using VMware, VMware is saying, oh, we're not going to give you, we're just, come to us. We'll just deal with you directly. Meanwhile, the customers of VMware are saying, what?
Yeah, they got no warning. It's just like one day they're like, oh yeah, this is over.
You know what else is over? 1 million square feet of office space in San Jose for VMware. They just got the campus up and running, and they're jettisoning it. That's
More commercial real estate available?
Yeah.
I
In
don't think
California.
there's not much of a market there, is there? And if you are a developer and you're looking to get in on the wave of AR, VR that's definitely coming, right? As soon as Apple releases their headset, it's going to be the year of VR.
The audience is going to be there.
They're ready, so start developing. Well, as usual, Apple has guidelines.
Apple tells developers not to call their AR or VR apps AR or VR apps. They're supposed to call it spatial computing.
No one is ever going to say that because it's much longer than AR or VR.
I had a thought about this. This might actually, because, you know, like one of the memorization techniques is like using a memory palace, like where you imagine yourself like in a big house and you put the knowledge that you're trying to retain in the house. That is a very effective technique for remembering a lot of information. I wonder if augmented reality and this kind of VR stuff takes off, that we will have a lot of people who are suddenly able to remember and organize information in their brain a lot better than they had been able to previously.
What's that learning style? Is it calisthenic, where you're tactile? Maybe those kind of people will benefit from that. Kinetic, maybe? Yeah, I don't remember the word.
Having seen your organization for
IRL,
physical things, I would not want to go into
Into your mind palace.
Yeah. The mind palace is worse, but I know where everything is.
See, I'm a visual learner, so like, if I can draw while I'm listening, I can retain things, but like just listening to an audiobook, I can listen to it, and then 10 minutes later, I'm going to have no idea what I listened to.
I went down a black hole. I'll have you know there's a whole new YouTuber subgenre called cluttercore. And apparently, if you have too deliberate of a set, you're fake, and like the clutter is real. So, trendsetter.
You guys can't see it because we're on a green screen, but if you were to turn the camera around, there'd be a little bit. It's not bad in here, but in other parts of the office, the clutter core is real.
Literally, like hoarder, unhealthy meets. It's bad. It's real bad.
It's improving, kind of.
I have purged a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but it's bad.
Well, if you're a Microsoft executive and you're reading the memo about the EU coming after you because you're too powerful and you're becoming way too integrated in AI, this won't make you as happy as you might think.
Microsoft briefly overtakes Apple as the world's most valuable company.
And it's all because of OpenAI, which they technically don't own.
Again, textbook example.
And here's just madness. These old game companies that have kind of like languished and they're not what they used to be, and apparently it's just a bunch of old corporate dudes running it. What are they thinking?
Capcom caught adding Enigma DRM to older titles for no good reason.
Resident Evil Revelations came out, what year was it, 2013?
I thought it was more egregious that they added it to Mega Man Battle, which is even older.
How many copies of that are you selling that you need to lock it down like that? Remember that they made the comments about modding as well.
Yeah, modding is the real loss here, is because when you add this, then modders have a much more difficult time, or it becomes impossible.
And that kind of behavior is going to lead to this kind of behavior.
Piracy is surging again thanks to streaming executives ignoring the lessons of the past.
Take what you can.
Man,
Give nothing back.
I really want to do some content, but it might be subscriber exclusive on building your own amazing LibriVox server where you can have your own, audiobooks. Those are all public domain audiobooks. And any kind of like public domain or retired old television like you can get from the Internet Archive, like Green Acres, for example.
And if hearing all this bad news and horrible behavior gives you some sort of heart palpitations, or maybe you have a stroke or something like that, don't worry, because there's a new and convenient way to get help, or for people who are trying to help you to get information.
YouTube will now direct you to the right first aid videos during an emergency. Things like CPR, heart attack, and other critical health things is going to be a hand-picked search result, basically, because even the search engine bots and the AI nonsense had taken over those searches to fill it with nonsense.
So I tested this, and this might be tampered because I also have like something that helps filter some of my YouTube results. Did not work if you had an ad blocker on. Went to a browser that didn't have an ad blocker, and it did pop up with like the heart attack directions.
You need to disable your ad blocker to get medical help.
Yeah. I mean, again, it could be another one of my add-ons tampering with it, but it was really funny. I was like, oh, okay.
Also, do you think these videos was like 2 minutes of intro? It's like, oh, like and subscribe. And
Go to our store.
they finally get to the CPR stuff in 5 minutes.
There were like 3 videos at the top, and it was all like really short ones when I saw it, but it was funny.
Well, 2024, is this the year? We have a major new version.
The biggest Linux kernel releases ever has been welcomed into 2024 with bcachefs file system, and we've also jettisoned support for the Intel Itanium. The Itanic, Intel came out with 64-bit extensions before AMD, a whole new 64-bit processor, as a matter of fact. The industry decided that it was hot garbage, and AMD came up with the AMD 64 extensions, which are now part of all of our 64-bit processors that we know and love, except for ARM. ARM's its own thing. x86 64-bit extensions. So the Itanium, the competing architecture, finally it's gone.
And new year, new crypto scandal, although this one actually happened in the previous year.
Yeah.
And we're just now getting
Catching
into
up, yeah.
HyperVerse crypto promoter Bitcoin Rodney arrested and charged in the U.S. But the IRS has arrested him.
It was pure Ponzi. They were paying out from new deposits. Textbook Ponzi. So many cryptos end up that way, don't they? Here's a crazy headline. Somebody's trying to get in front of something, right? What do they know?
Yeah.
Google formally endorses right to repair and will lobby to pass repair laws.
Now, some of this is tactical in the sense that Google doesn't marry the parts to the phone like Apple does.
Yeah.
And that's what they're really hammering here.
People do not understand the level of Apple hostility. It can only be described as malevolence. There is no...
They probably don't understand it until they go to the Apple store to get something fixed on their phone. It's like, no, you just have to buy a new one.
There's a certain amount of cognitive dissonance when you're inside the Apple store, but then you start looking at it in the engineering, and it's malevolent.
They probably mess with the oxygen mixture.
How do you think they get that pure,
Yeah.
bright white light?
It's
in the
like, oh,
store?
this is a dream world. Money has no meaning here. Here's my Goldman Sachs card. And moving on to social media, once again, Meta has angered world leaders.
Turkish competition board to fine Meta $160,000 per day for non-compliance. What are they not complying with? They're not providing information about ad sales and compliance and like how they were treating competitors in Turkey.
I wonder why they're not giving them that information.
That's weird.
Mark Zuckerberg is not worried about that. But he's, after all, he's building his bunker. He's in Hawaii.
Having a great time stealing land from the locals.
He's going local. Yeah, he's getting into the local production system.
Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg reveals his latest project on Facebook and Instagram. Unlike Commander Data, it is not an Android daughter named Lol. Instead, it is to breed the tastiest beef cattle by feeding it nuts and honey.
Remember the story we did where I think it was Jack Dorsey went over to Mark Zuckerberg's house and he's like, he killed a goat?
Apparently, his kids are taking care of the cows. Part of their education, I guess. It's not nuts and honey, it's nuts and beer.
Nuts and beer.
Macadamias, which only grow in Hawaii and are very expensive.
Yeah, that's a wildly expensive diet.
Do you think the cows like that?
Most of the time they just eat plants. Like, hey, why would you feed them nuts and beer?
It's like the cow version of foie gras.
Would you want foie gras all day, every day?
Yeah, you need. Surely you have other dietary requirements. Is
They
that
probably
good on
do.
their stomachs?
They probably do feed them other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Probably just a little bit of macadamia mixed in there. It's probably not even real macadamia. It's probably just peanuts. And he tells the cows that it's macadamia.
It's nice that you're getting into farming and stuff like that. But what a weird implementation.
He can do what he wants. And you can do what you want, but you won't always be free from consequences. And then if there's this big argument, it's kind of like the porch pirates we talked about. Where's the line between privacy and you doing horrible things and being called out for it? And the courts, I guess, will have to figure this one out.
Man sues 27 women after Facebook users call him quote-unquote clingy and quote-unquote psycho. 27 women. Well, actually, it was 27 women, 1 man, and...
Yeah. My favorite part of this, though, is like one of the women actually posted his text messages. So it's not hearsay. Like, it's his messages.
So there's the website and Facebook group, Are We Dating the Same Guy? Which is sexist. And he apparently was appearing on there quite a bit. He was a bit of a prolific dater, and he had a tendency of ghosting women and maybe treating them poorly. So they went on there to share their experiences about him. Is that an invasion of privacy?
That doesn't seem unreasonable.
You're for this, but you're not for the porch pirate videos?
No, it's not that I'm not for the porch pirate videos. I'm just saying that there's one very narrow case where it's like...
What about the Reddit people going after him? He's a piece of garbage. They hate him.
I don't think they were threatening him with violence. Porch pirates are just like, oh, it's somebody who's stealing from me. I can automatically shoot them. And it's like, only if they're still on your porch.
I could go on Reddit in 10 minutes to find you somebody willing to do violence against that.
There was a really depressing statistic in this article, too, where it was like 30% of women have been assaulted by a date when meeting someone for an online.
Yeah, I wonder if, are they not doing... Is that the first date, or do they get comfortable and then it happens?
That's probably a good angle for the defense, though. Is it's like, hey, this guy that we have, this dating is dangerous for women. We should get together collectively.
Well, that's how it's always been done in the past, right? It's like you had to have the approval of your community.
Yeah.
This is just another way for them to isolate us.
But now our community is Twitter. We can't do that. And Twitter continues to have controversy after controversy, and because now they are the most hated company in the world, it will get covered exhaustively.
The headline was X purges prominent journalists and leftists with no explanation, but they actually had restored the accounts even before this was published.
There was an update in the article at the top.
Yeah, the article was not honest about the timeline, though. A lot of people got banned, and then they were unbanned, not just journalists.
He claimed that it was some kind of spam. So I don't know if we can believe that or not. But let's remember that pre-Musk, Twitter banned a ton of people and never let them back.
Yeah.
So this is not anything new.
I mean, he might be doing this, but also it might just be Twitter being half broken.
Yeah, I think it's probably more just It's not malice so much as just incompetence at this point.
Which should be a cautionary moment for you if you're considering using this.
Elon Musk's X to launch peer-to-peer payments this year. He's trying to make Goldman Sachs nervous.
You ever notice sometimes, like, you go on Twitter and, like, sometimes the code will be broken at the top, like someone messed up a CSS file, and it's like, I don't know if I trust that as an e-commerce solution.
Well, that was the deal with Venmo too in the beginning. In the beginning, Venmo, when it was starting to really take off, it was vilified by everybody, and then it was like, okay, we should just acquire them, and they did.
So if you recall, when he bought Twitter, he had this vision of it being the everything app. I guess this is the next step toward that. However, it is now the everything app that is losing all the money.
It's also got it keeps pushing that AI feature. Have you seen that pop up on yours? Yeah. I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want that either.
I've seen a couple of excerpts of that, people posting screenshots, and it really does just seem like ChatGPT with an attitude filter added to it.
Yeah, I haven't used it. I just see it. They literally pop up every time you log into it.
It is infuriating, though, how ChatGPT will just, like, flat out refuse to follow your directions, but then it's saccharine nice about it. I hate that.
I'd rather it just tell me.
Yeah, I'd rather be just like, screw you, buddy. I don't do that. That's not part of my programming. And finally, if you're on the TikTok, be careful, because a lot of countries are very sensitive about who owns what in the world, and you don't want to get on the wrong side of that.
Vietnam fines TikToker $300 for saying that Angkor Wat is in Thailand and not Vietnam.
Is it Vietnam? It's Cambodia, right?
Cambodia. Yes, it's Cambodia.
It's apparently disputed.
Yeah, I don't know that dispute. Do you?
No, I don't. I wasn't familiar with it.
Engagement challenge.
Well, they don't engage because you might get fined $300 by the government of Vietnam.
Oh, yeah. Call it something else. Call it Winnie the Pooh.
My troll failed.
All right.
Was that it?
That's
Unlock this story now.
That's it.
We've already unlocked it.
Until Friday nonsense.
And a lot of space stories. Bye.